The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.'" Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. This is the gospel of the Lord. So this weekend, we begin a new message series called Baggage, the Importance of Forgiveness. And so we're into the new year, and it's an opportunity for us to enter in still during this Christmas season, kind of to see how we enter into 2020, which is the year of Barbara Walters. Anyone know that? Some of you got it. So on New Year's Day, not many got it. Of course, remember Barbara Walters was on 2020, and you remember that TV show? Okay, there you go. So, yeah, it's not a good joke. I know. It's all I got. It's all I got. Okay? We're going to be looking over these 4 weeks, especially in this new year, on this reality of the baggage we carry and this sense of forgiveness. So we enter into this new year, and we enter into a new decade, right? 2020. It's opportunities to make some New Year's resolutions. Some of you may have done that. Some commitments to maybe form new habits, exercise more, read more, just enjoy life more, looking for that fresh start. And it's good, when we start a new year, every year kind of invites us, and hopefully through kind of making that daily choice and determination that we're going to stick with those new opportunities. Because, of course, starting something new or changing our habits takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of energy, and it takes a while for kind of these new habits to kind of become second nature for us. But this is good. But the reality, too, is that we do have to kind of look back. As we look back in our lives, if we're going to start to go forward, we do and can have a lot of baggage. I don't know about you, but when I travel, I overpack. It's a terrible thing, because you sit there and say, well, I might need that because if this happens, I might need that, and I might need that. And then I almost say I need a second suitcase, right? And when you overpack and we have a heavy suitcase, it's very, very hard to travel. The first little bit saying, yeah, I'm going to do it, I'm going to take it, I'm going to carry it, no problem. By the third day, you're saying, why did I take this stuff? And I don't know about you, but then I start thinking, what can I purge? What can I let go to lighten the load? Well, when we go into this new year, this new decade, we might have new hopes, new opportunities. looking forward to maybe different epiphanies of faith. And again, epiphany is kind of this revelation, this understanding of who Jesus is in our lives. Just like Sierra in her first Holy Communion tonight gets this very special gift of Jesus. And for her, this is an epiphany evening, because she gets to realize Jesus in a very special way as she's prepared to receive Holy Communion for the very first time. Well, for us, as we embark on those new opportunities, new moments in this new year, in this new decade, we have to look at kind of what could be holding us back. What could be our baggage that we don't need to carry into this new year, into this new opportunity? And what's the baggage? I was going to Poland. There was my luggage right there in the picture. I don't know, I could have fit a couple more bags on there. What baggage are we really talking about? Well, grudges, regret, anger, resentment, hurt, and pain. In whatever forms that might happen for you in your life, whatever forms they might be, there are those things that weigh us down, that can hold us back, that could be very a drag on us, that just saps the energy, the enthusiasm, the hopes that we have. And we can kind of look at it and say, well, I'm just going to keep dragging those things along. Or how do I deal with those things so that I can truly experience God's grace in a powerful way in this new year? Those things that maybe we're really looking forward to having. What's the baggage I'm carrying? Well, the reality is that forgiveness helps deal with all of those hurts, those pains, those grudges, those resentments, those pains. And what is forgiveness? To cancel a debt. To forgive a debt is to acknowledge that we will not get something that we are owed, that we legitimately were owed. So, those of you who have maybe car payments, mortgage payments, ones that the bank said, don't worry about it. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be a big relief? Wouldn't that help set you free? And of course, that's a form of forgiveness because you owe the bank money. And they have chosen to write it off, say, don't worry about it, we'll take the loss. To forgive a debt is to acknowledge that we will not get something that we are owed, that we legitimately were owed. To let go of something that we deserve. And in the case of a mortgage or car payment debt, the bank pays that price. But in the reality of forgiveness, when we're forgiving our children, for not bringing the grandchildren around, forgiving our spouse for a certain argument, forgiving our friends or our relatives for past hurts. And to really forgive is a sense that we need to let go of what is owed to us to be able to move forward. And that's what we're going to be looking at over this 4-week message series as a way for us to enter into this new year, into this new decade, hopefully placing ourselves in this great light and full of enthusiasm and excitement for what God has to offer to us by letting go of that baggage that slows us down, that wears us out, that doesn't allow us to look forward. Forgiveness is a good idea. In theory, hard to live out though, right? Especially if we're the ones having to forgive someone who has deeply hurt us, whether it's something many, many years ago or yesterday. We know our faith calls us to this, but again, it's easier to talk about, but really hard to forgive those debts people owe us. And yet our faith calls us to live this out in a very special way. And we can approach forgiveness in 3 ways. Denial. We can try to ignore the call of forgiveness, hope that it goes away, or maybe we don't think it's a big issue, but it is really a big issue in our lives, but we just try to ignore it and think it's not a big issue and kind of just say, well, we don't need to do that. We don't need forgiveness. We can deny those things, but that really never lets that baggage go. We just embrace it more. We can know that forgiveness is helpful. Our faith reminds us that forgiveness is important. We talk about the realities of the story of salvation in which we celebrate the Epiphany, and Jesus, coming to earth to show us, and as we'll go through this series, give us the gift of forgiveness. We know the idea, and we know it's helpful, but we kind of just leave it there as a concept. Or we can approach forgiveness by actually trying to do it, experiencing it, especially in the sacrament of reconciliation, but then offering it as people of action to actually deal with that baggage that slows us down, that prevents us from experiencing the joys and graces that our lives have to offer, that God has to offer. In the first reading from the prophet Isaiah, we heard, "Arise, shine, your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Then you shall see and be radiant. Your heart shall thrill and rejoice, because the abundance of the sea shall be brought to you." If we want to really experience the Feast of the Epiphany, that what we celebrate this weekend, that light, that joy, that abundance, that thrill of God's grace, we need to try to experience, embrace, and live out a life of forgiveness. To be able to forgive those hurts, those things that we hang on to. That's how we experience what we read in the scriptures, what we hear at Mass tonight, come alive for us in a very special way. And that's kind of always the challenge for us, is to take a look at what we hear, what we read in the celebration of the Mass, and then make that connect with our lives today. But so this is one of the ways that when Isaiah says, "Your light has come," to experience that forgiveness, first from God, offering forgiveness to others, and of course always we have to forgive ourselves for the past mistakes and challenges and struggles and choices we've made, to then experience that light. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. The three wise men arriving and seeing the star stopped over Bethlehem and finding Jesus, they were thrilled with joy. Forgiveness gives us joy. Forgiveness lightens the load. Forgiveness gives us peace and allows us to celebrate the great gift of God's love. So as we continue on our Mass tonight, and as we embark on this journey, this message series of baggage, this weekend I'm just going to ask you to think about what baggage you do have. Now, if you have lots of baggage like I do, think of one. One person that you need to forgive in your life. Don't forgive them yet, because then this series is over and we got to start a new one next week. If it's that easy, then God bless you. But think about that one person or that one scenario in your life that needs forgiveness, and pray for that situation. Pray for that person. Pray about what forgiveness can do. And take a look at the weight of that baggage and imagine, what happens if I was to able to let this go? How would my life change? And as we go through this series, hopefully all of us slowly get closer and closer into that light, so that we're thrilled, we rejoice, overwhelmed with God's grace, love, mercy, and forgiveness.